every economic problem that we're facing in this country right now, student loan debt being just out of control, the government shutdown, SNAP benefits being cut, health insurance premiums about to go through the roof, your rent going up, your pay stagnating, groceries just being astronomical, is because reparations were never paid after the Civil War. Let me explain. After the Civil War, the Union, the North won and the South was defeated, but the South was never punished. The Confederacy lived on in the ideology of the people, of the white people of the South. Reparations were never paid to Black Americans. They were never really, truly given the opportunity to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, to rise up and become equal members of this country, equal citizens. They've been fighting for their equality since then. They've never actually truly achieved it. So when white people hear a promise from Donald Trump et al. That we're gonna run the country like a business, to them that sounds appealing. They're like, oh yeah, because you know what? I'm a business owner. I own this country because I'm white. When Black and brown people hear, well, we're gonna run the country, run the government like a business, they understand what that means because they've been dealing with it for centuries. White people think that they are on the side of the owners, the masters, but they're not. Most white people have more in common with the Black and brown people that they look down upon. They are closer to them in the economic tax bracket than they are to the white billionaires whose asses they kiss. But listen to them glazing billionaires, especially on this app. I make $50,000 a year, but I have more in common with Jeff Bezos than I do with George Floyd. Bullshit! The only reason the lie of let's run this country like a business appealed to you is because you thought you would benefit. And now here you are. Now here you are understanding that when they say we're going to run this country like a business, that means they're going to profit off of your ass. That means that if you take $100,000 loan out to go to college, you will be in debt to the federal government until the day you fucking die. You borrowed 100 grand, prepare to repay 300 grand because they're running the government like a business now. And guess what? You're a customer, not an owner. The government exists to serve us, not to profit off of us. And we will continue to have these problems until y'all get your fucking minds right.
How's everybody doing today? So I see, once again, we've had it put into our face that white folks, we are the problem. We're the problem. We're the problem. Our refusal to honestly deal with our history of hatred, racism, genocide is a problem. Our inability to see where the unhealthiness of our culture is the problem. Our inability to see how racism and Christianity all tied up in together is a problem, is the problem. And the biggest problem is that we do not see we are the problem. God bless everyone. Have a beautiful afternoon.
It's time, and some of the palm-colored people are waking up right now, admitting the fact that they have been the problem in the United States and that America is cursed. All the corrupt activities that has been going on in the United States, all the mistreatment of the people of color, the mistreatment of the American citizens as a whole are due to the curse. And right now, their sins are haunting them. You know, people have been telling them all these things, but before they didn't want to admit that they are the problem. And right now, those who are woke are admitting the fact that they have been the problem. So guys, I want us to watch these clips together and let me know what you think about it in the comment section below, because when I came across these clips and I heard them saying that America is truly cursed, I was not shocked. So this video is for educational purposes only, and we are not here to spread any kind of hatred. Welcome back to Afrojudy's channel. Kindly give the video a thumbs up and let's unpack this episode together.
There's a reason that America feels cursed. From its beginning to its present, this so-called Christian nation has been drenched in blood, greed, and spiritual filth. What we're seeing today, the chaos, division, addiction, violence, it isn't random. It's divine consequence. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, corruption has appeared on land and sea because of what the hands of men have earned, so that he may let them taste part of what they have done, that perhaps they will return. Quran chapter 30 verse 41. America wasn't founded on freedom. It was founded on genocide and hypocrisy. Millions of Native Americans exterminated, their land stolen, their children kidnapped into Christian schools, where they were beaten, raped, and stripped of identity. The same people quoting the Bible used it to justify mass murder. Before the US even called itself a nation, it was burning women alive during the Salem witch trials, projecting its own evil onto others. They screamed about witches while committing acts far darker than any spell. They seek to extinguish the light of Allah with their mouths, but Allah will perfect his light. Quran chapter 61 verse 8. What they call purity was actually paranoia, fear, and hatred, the very foundation of their empire. Then came Mormonism, born into the same soil, mixing Christianity with paganism, polygamy, and blood atonement. These were not fringe movements. They shaped US politics and culture, from manifest destiny to God bless America. The nation began to believe it was chosen by God to dominate others. That's not faith, that's arrogance. The Prophet Muhammad warned, arrogance is rejecting the truth and looking down on people. Sahih Muslim 91. And what's more arrogant than a nation claiming God gave it the right to rule the earth, just like Israel is doing right now, and its people, the chosen ones, the very same people running America. Just look at the culture. The United States produces more serial killers than any other country in history. Over 3,000 known cases. Hollywood glorifies cannibals, serial killers, and demonic acts. It celebrates sin as freedom. Even Netflix has turned human depravity into entertainment. This isn't coincidence. This is a mirror, a reflection of the nation's inner sickness. Then the hearts of those who disbelieve became hardened after that, like stones or even harder. Quran chapter 2 verse 74. The same obsession with horror, violence, and death runs through its politics, its movies, and its streets. When a nation normalizes evil, Allah removes mercy from its heart. The American empire didn't stop at home. It expanded, invading, occupying, and toppling over 80 countries, from Vietnam to Iraq, from Iran to Libya. Millions of lives lost in the name of freedom. Their military doesn't defend, it dominates. They maintain over 750 military bases all across the world, controlling oil, currency, and governments through blood, and do not commit abuse on the earth, spreading corruption. Quran chapter 2 verse 60. And yet they call Muslims terrorists. The biggest terror organization on earth wears a suit and waves a flag. Islam forbids everything America profits from: interest, pornography, gambling, intoxication, exploitation, and oppression. So they attack it. They bomb Muslim lands, invade other nations, steal resources, and brainwash their citizens to fear Islam. They demonize hijabs, but glorify nudity. They ridicule prayer, but worship money. They want to deceive Allah and those who believe, but they deceive none except themselves, yet they perceive it not. Quran chapter 2 verse 9. America doesn't hate Islam because it's violent. It hates Islam because it's pure, because it exposes the filth that they live in. Behind the American flag lies another flag, the Zionist one. For decades, Zionist lobby groups like AIPAC have dictated US foreign policy. Presidents come and go, but the alliance to Israel never changes. Billions of dollars are sent yearly while American cities decay, poverty rises, and children die from fentanyl. You see, many of them taking the disbelievers as allies. Evil indeed is that which they have sent ahead for themselves. Quran, chapter 5, verse 80. The same elite networks, banks, media, Hollywood and tech promote degeneracy, destroying faith and manipulate minds. Their goal, to make humanity forget God so they can play God. Have you noticed America's obsession with monsters, vampires, demons, and the apocalypse? It's not entertainment, it's confession. Its myths mirror its crimes, from witch hunts to cannibals to mass shooters. America creates monsters because it is one. It projects its own darkness onto screens so people never see it in the mirror. And thus we made the oppressors allies of one another because of what they used to earn. Quran, chapter 6, verse 129. Just look at America now, divided, decaying, drowning in drugs, shootings, suicides, and debt. Its people no longer know right from wrong. They mutilate children, glorify sin, and call it progress. Its youth reject God, its leaders worship wealth, and its military serves Zionist greed. When we intend to destroy a town, we command its affluent ones, but they definitely disobey therein, so the world comes into effect upon it, and we destroy it with complete destruction. Quran, chapter 17, verse 16. That is what's happening right now. America is being destroyed, not by enemies abroad, but by the rot from within. The United States calls others terrorists, but it has terrorized the planet. It preaches morality while funding genocide. It claims to defend freedom while silencing truth. It builds idols of liberty while worshipping satanic systems. And every empire built on blood ends the same way. Rome, Babylon, Pharaoh, and now Washington. Do not think Allah is unaware of what the wrongdoers do. He only delays them for a day when eyes will stare in horror. Quran, chapter 14, verse 42. America's downfall is not political, it's spiritual. The curse it unleashed upon others has come home. You cannot mock God, slaughter nations, and poison the earth without consequence. The land cries out, the blood speaks, and justice is coming, whether through history or through divine wrath. And perhaps then the world will see that Islam was never the enemy. It was the truth they feared all along. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings be upon you and your family.
I don't know if anybody else can see this, but I've always said this to myself, and I've said this to a few people in my family. I think this nation is cursed actively. And you know, we can, you know, I'm getting into the spiritual stuff. I'm getting into my word. I'm becoming a Christ follower. But something in me tells me that this nation, the land that we are sitting on, will never recover. And we can see this, I mean, firsthand. Look at the unrest in our nation. Look how our people have never been okay. Our people have never been at peace with ourselves. Our people have never been in eternal peace with itself. This nation has always been at war, whether it's been at war with another nation, whether it's been at war with ourselves. Since they signed the Declaration of Independence, we have seen some sort of resistance or violence attached to the name of this nation. This nation cannot rest, and it will not rest. You can't acquire a nation the way we acquired it and not expect to feel something, right? They always tell us, right, these sayings that transcend our generations, they even transcend some of our bloodlines, right? When you think of what goes around comes around, karma's gonna come get you, karma's a bitch, right? Like why are all these karmic sayings always in rotation, right? Why are all these spiritual sayings of basically whatever you do is going to come back, and you are going to reap what you sow, right? And this is just, these are all saying the same thing. Bad deeds do not go unchecked. Bad behavior does not go unchecked. The people in this nation will never be at peace internally because of what happened on this soil, on this land has not been addressed. And people think that, okay, well, I can do something bad and I just die and it'll just go away. Your family lives with that. Your ancestors live with that. We're seeing that today. They are living with this unrest inside of them. This is why this nation has always been at war. 11 wars. 11 wars. How much blood do you think this nation has shed? We've dropped 2 nuclear bombs. We're the only nation that has used nuclear weapons. This nation is violence. All that violence, all that bloodshed, all them tragedies these dudes thought they could do to these people on this land, whether it was the Native Americans first, then move over to chattel slavery, right? The transatlantic slave trade. Then we still got the Mexican-American War. These people were fighting everybody in proximity. It's proximity with this nation. This nation will kill if it could. This nation has violent tendencies, has violence in the spirit. There's unrest in the spirit, and it will not go away until there is acknowledgement and there is atonement. We don't know how these spiritual things work. That's the cool part. We don't know how they work. I'm just simply observing how this system works. I don't know how it works, though. The inner workings, that's for God to know, right? Or the creator, or whatever you believe in. But whoever you believe in, whatever I believe in, are most likely the same person or thing or being. And they are not going to let this nation roll around in money before it has to roll around in its filth. And that's what this nation is doing. It's going to take people to understand that even though they weren't the ones who did it, someone's going to have to step up and take the bullet for this one. So, they have not talked about anything that has happened on this soil. All they care about is money, 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 money. This nation is destined to fall.
Not only is America not a Christian nation, but according to this American lawyer and theologian, it's a demonic nation. Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Colton. I grew up a Pentecostal pastor's kid, went to school to get degrees in historical Christian theology, and I don't think January 6th is anywhere close to one of the worst things that's happened in American history. But it is a particularly good illustration of what this video is about. We saw an enraged mob of violent Christian nationalists carry American flags and Jesus Save banners into the Capitol during an attempted coup. And in the aftermath, I remember seeing one pastor say that this was a revival, not a riot. I saw another pastor say that the insurrection was comparable to the walls of Jericho falling down. That's how they viewed it. And more than a few Christians defended it as the hand of God moving through patriots. There was this guy named William Stringfellow who was a civil rights attorney, an activist, and a theologian who lived in Harlem during the 1960s. He wrote this book called An Ethic for Christians and Other Aliens in a Strange Land. Stringfellow used the language from Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12 to talk about America being the demonic principality of the power of death. In this passage, someone, purportedly Paul, although that's hotly contested by the scholarship, says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And in context, this is essentially naming the unseen forces that work through empires and institutions and ideologies. Not just like metaphors, but Stringfellow actually took this seriously. For him, these powers and principalities are the spiritual and institutional realities that shape human life, and often without our awareness. Stringfellow didn't think that demonic principalities came wearing horns and red capes, but they came dressed in flags and standing in pulpits, using the language of freedom, family, and faith. He saw them as real forces that were spiritual, systemic, and seductive. He saw them operating as governments, corporations, and even churches. Really, any institution that takes on life of its own and demands allegiance, resists accountability, and functions to preserve its own survival at the expense of truth. Stringfellow said that these forces aren't always obviously evil, that they pretend to be good because they disguise themselves as righteous and they speak in the name of God while dealing in death. Put simply, he saw America as a principality pretending to be God. For Stringfellow, this is why so many churches have lost the capacity to tell the truth. And this is why Christians defend war as holy or see billionaires as blessed, use law and order language like it's sacred, but then mock mercy. No wonder so many churches have prioritized the idea of personal salvation. It allows you to ignore systemic sin, and you start to see flags treated with more reverence than the cross. Stringfellow believed that when the church endorses or baptizes empire, that what it's doing is worshiping death, because the one thing that the powers always wield is death. Not just physical death, but spiritual death, the death of imagination, the death of empathy. It's kind of funny that we're seeing so much language come up today from American evangelicals talking about toxic empathy. Crazy. Stringfellow says that this is the death that comes when you no longer believe anything can change. And so you give yourself over to the way that things are. And he says that this is how the powers win, not by making you serve them consciously, but by making you believe they're inevitable. And he says that they do this strategically, and he actually outlines 8 strategies that the powers use to sustain their influence and subdue their conscience. For time purposes, I can only cover probably 3. One of these strategies is the denial of truth. He says that the powers lie blatantly and systemically, that they distort the facts and suppress evidence to amain the illusion of righteousness. And I think you can see this clearly in the way that American institutions dismiss or minimize the climate crisis, even when the scientific consensus is clear, or in a way that somebody might claim an election was stolen with no credible proof, using the lie to justify further authoritarian responses. Or even how they erase the human toll of immigration policies by not acknowledging the deaths or the trauma caused by detentions, deportations, and border enforcement. Another strategy he outlines is what he calls doublespeak and overtalk in the Orwellian sense. And he's not just talking about lying here. Here he's talking about drowning the truth in euphemism and noise. So think about the way that we use terms like enhanced interrogation to mean torture, or collateral damage to mean dead civilians. Pundits and politicians will often flood the discourse with slogans like law and order, things that obscure who's actually making the laws and whose order is being preserved in the first place. And I think that when the language is corrupted, so is the conscience. Then there's surveillance and harassment. Stringfellow says that powers protect themselves by targeting dissent. And you can see this in the way that law enforcement agencies are starting to track protesters with facial recognition, or even as quietly as IRS audits and donor blacklists for faith leaders who challenge Christian nationalism. That's happening. Keep in mind, this was written in the 1970s, the early 70s. He talks about journalists facing threats for exposing state or corporate wrongdoing, and clergy who speak out being dismissed as, just political or divisive or even unpatriotic. The goal here isn't just to punish, it's to intimidate, to discourage anyone else from stepping out of line. And this is why Stringfellow didn't just call the church to critique the state. He was actually calling the church to exorcise the state, to name the idols clearly, and to unmask the spiritual lies that are there beneath the political power. Stringfellow was begging the church to refuse to worship at the altars of relevance, respectability, and return on investment. And in a world where even the church can become possessed by the spirit of empire, Stringfellow believed that the only faithful church is the one that looks like Christ, poor, despised, and truth-telling, willing to die rather than to kill.
Well, guys, a lot of things has been happening in the United States lately, and it is being caused by this group of people, the palm-colored people. And I'm so glad that majority of them are now waking up and admitting the fact that they have been the cause of all this. They have been the problem. And this thing is not only happening in the United States, it is across the globe. Because of what? They always consider themselves to be so superior as compared to any other race. And right now, being that their sins have started haunting some of them, all the negativities they were doing behind the closed doors are being revealed right now. They are waking up. They are realizing that, well, the empire is falling. And if we don't admit the truth right now, we are going to mess up in future and no one will be ready to help us. Actually, the people of color have been mistreated so bad in the United States, especially the black Americans. They have gone through a lot in the United States, and they made sure that America is the America we have today. They built the United States. Their labor was forcefully used to build the United States, but they were not paid. Their ancestors were enslaved, they were tortured. Like they made sure that they mistreat their ancestors so that the America can be the America right now. And that's why when the black Americans always come online and say that we demand reparations, I'm always on their side, because if you read the history so well and understand whatever happened to their ancestors, sometimes you can always sit down and start shedding tears, because whatever happened to your fellow human being, if it can happen to you, you can't fathom and you will not withstand it. And that's why a majority of these palm colored people right now are waking up, because the very system has started oppressing them. It is no longer oppressing only the black people or the brown people, it is oppressing all the people in the United States, especially if you are in the middle class or the lower class. And if you are in the top of the hierarchy, especially where we have these billionaires, where we have the orange man together with his friends, you will be regarded as a special being in the United States. But if you are this person and you are in the middle class, or you can't afford life so well in the United States, the orange man doesn't care about you. The system doesn't favor you. Imagine how the black Americans have suffered in the United States. When it comes to police brutality, they're the ones who always face it so much as compared to any other group of people. When it comes to lynchings, they're always being lynched by these groups of people, because they always see black Americans as a threat. Then when it comes to help, they demand help from the black Americans. They always know that the black Americans have that voice, they have that influence, and they can help. They know how powerful the voice of a black American is, and that's why in case of anything, they always want them to come out and help them. But who is going to help the black Americans in case they are in a trouble? Who is going to stand up in solidarity with them in case of anything, being that they always want the black Americans to be in the front line, to be their shield? And that's why I always agree with them when they say that the 92% and the 80% are resting, because honestly they have done a lot, they have experienced a lot. If it were you who was going through all that in a system which was not designed for you, you could have already given up. But the fact that they are resilient, they are hardworking, they are so optimistic, and they were never meant to give up. And that's why they are succeeding, they are excelling in various fields, and their success is triggering these people. You know how it defies their stereotype so bad. And that's why even when the black Americans are silent, these people always feel like there is something cooking somewhere, that if they're not careful, then the black Americans are going to take over them. Their power is rising. And the power of black people, let me say that it's are rising across the globe, not only in the United States, because we have already realized that these people, that is how they want to treat the black people. They want to see you succeeding, but at the same time, if you succeed, it triggers them. They want you to entertain them, but you should not be funny enough to be entertaining them. When you are talking, they want you to be loud, but you should not be loud enough. So that is how they always want to limit you when you are doing something. And I totally agree with this bearded dude. All the points he said, I wish all the palm colored people could wake up and listen to whatever he was saying and also have the kind of mindset he's having. And again, the first woman on this clip, whatever she said, I wish all these palm colored women could wake up and say this or agree with her and have the same mentality, because you know the white woman's tear, you know whatever it has caused to the black people and the brown people in the United States, and you know how they are always being treated. Like somebody from nowhere can come and start blaming you that you did something wrong, and yet at the same time, he or she knows clearly so well that he is lying, that she is lying. She just want to get that person into trouble. And a lot of these palm colored women, they have got the black people into trouble because of their fake tears. And now some of them realize that, well, our sins have started haunting us everywhere and we need to change our behaviors. And that's why lately you have seen majority of them, they are waking up. They are trying to use their voices to educate their very own. But if they don't take action, still whatever they are saying, some people will regard them as nothing. The only thing that the black people and the brown people want in the world of today is to see them taking action, is to see them being responsible, because they are so much privileged in the United States. And again, they always forget the difference between racism and prejudice, because sometimes they always come online and start saying that the black people are also racist, you know. They claim that that is a reverse racism. Anyway, guys, I don't want to dive so much into that topic. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you agree with whatever these people were saying? Do you agree that the United States is cursed? Let me know in the in the comment section. And why do you agree that the United States of America is cursed? I wanna know it in the comment section. So let us keep the comment section respectful. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I honestly appreciate your massive love and support. I'm your presenter, Judy. Until next time, make sure you take good care of yourselves.